you can lower his approval rating on immigration. You can. And if you bring him down on immigration and the economy, guess what you're doing? Winning.
Yeah.
Winning.
Hello, everyone. This is JVL here with my best friend, Sarah Longwell, publisher of the Bulwark. And this is going to be a long show and maybe even a very hopeful show.
Could it be?
I'm Ron Burgundy.
We did a happy Bulwark take yesterday.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was 2 days ago, but your enthusiasm was notable.
Yeah. So here's the deal. The news is that yesterday, Senator Chris Van Hollen actually met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and so we have proof of life. And I want to talk a lot about that. I also want to talk a lot about the Fourth Circuit opinion issued by J. Harvey Wilkinson, who is a Reagan conservative pinup. These are green shoots.
Yes.
And what Bernie and AOC are doing, barnstorming the country, bringing together tens of thousands of people in red states too, going to Montana and Utah. These are green shoots, and this gets to your focus group. Like, what do Democrats want? They want people who are going to do something.
Yes.
And we're starting to see movement on this. I'm very encouraged by that.
Yes.
And so here I'm gonna just submit my optimism to you and ask you to knock it down. We get not a radical DEI judge, but J. Harvey Wilkinson, who is, again, if you are a conservative of a certain age, this guy is one of the dudes up in the pantheon. The district judges of conservatives absolutely revered, a Lutig type.
Yeah.
Him writing an opinion which is as clear as a shot of gin. You've got Chris Van Hollen going down and making things happen when people said they couldn't. You've got, again, AOC and Bernie out organizing people by tens of thousands. These all feel like really robust responses of the immune system.
You've got Harvard saying no.
Saying no.
I do think this week could be in part, and you know why? In part, I think this is happening, is because of he was trying to crash the economy a week or two ago, right? People are like,
vulnerable, right?
Right, it makes them vulnerable, and people are like, go on offense. This is it, right? And I do think this week could be like, we might look back and think like this was part of a turning point.
Part of an inflection,
when people started to say, we didn't listen to Gavin Newsom about like, this is a distraction. Be like, no, we're going to stand on this. And Harvard's going to stand.
Parts of civil society starting to hold hands, right? I mean, it is important to have the courts and normal Democratic elected politicians and mass movements of people coming out to the streets and big institutions like Harvard all now sort of linking up, right? I mean, that's another part of the immune response, is that these things have to wind up uniting. And they're not there yet, but I feel like it's starting to cohere into a broader movement. And I got to say, I am thrilled that Trump is going all in on weaponizing the IRS openly against Harvard, because Harvard, more than any other institution in all of the United States of America, is equipped to fight that battle. They are literally if you wanted to prove that you could win that fight and you were Trump, Harvard is the last place you would try to go to the mattresses on. And that he chose to double down on this is very good, because I am confident that Harvard wins that fight. And if they don't, if the IRS like takes away Harvard's tax-exempt status or something, I think that opens the door to massive systemic reform once all of this is over, right? And it really is another mask-off moment of, oh, this is pure authoritarianism. And then once we get to the Nuremberg phase, which is something I've been daydreaming a lot about over the last 5 days, I think, like with the abolishment of ICE, which I have on my show map that I want to talk to you about, is a thing that becomes a lot more, oh yeah, we're going to have to basically like debathify or denazify huge swaths of the country when this is over. So tell me, am I wrong to be optimistic? Am I
Well, first of all, I think it's always good to be optimistic. So no, I think it's uncharacteristic, but I don't think it's bad. And look, I think that what is that? There's that Russian expression, "Hope dies last," right?
Yeah.
Like we should keep hope alive, and we should. It's actually a bleak expression, the idea that hope dies last. I think, but I think this is all. I still think we can win against this, and I think both electorally, this idea that like we'll never have free and fair elections. Here's the thing about like assuming he's dead versus going and getting proof of life. Like what Van Hollen did was say like, I'm going to put the attention on this, which when you say like we've been begging, like that's one of the things we've been begging people to do. Like you are senators. Like here's what people should take away from it is that you as a senator can set a narrative, can attract attention, can go on offense. And like we asked, I don't know, weeks ago, it's like, go down there. And like, this is what Republicans did. They dragged cameras to the border and like Democrats have got to start thinking that way. And I think Van Hollen, who's a pretty like, let's say this guy is, he's not like a Chris Murphy, who's a big social media guy. And he's always out there, driving a message. He just said, okay, I'm a senator from Maryland. This guy's been living in Maryland. And I think that Van Hollen should be just a smidge careful just on this about not lionizing Abrego Garcia. Because again, he might not be a very good person at all.
Right. But his wife is a voter. Or his wife's an American citizen
that's right.
and is one of Van Hollen's constituents. And if one of your constituents comes to you and says, my husband has been disappeared into a gulag, can you please help me? This is what legislators are supposed to do. This is a core function of Congress people.
And him doing that, here's what happened when he was in El Salvador. Because he was going down there, Bukele like kind of had to play ball a little bit. Like they decided like, oh, let's put him in regular clothes. Like, let's put out little drinks. And like they were this is what you do when you force the other side's hand, when you go on offense. They said, shit, this guy's coming down anyway. Let's try to turn it into, let's show that it's not a gulag. Right. And don't worry, plenty of Americans will be there to say, see, not a gulag, guys. Look, see, everything's fine. I'm sure that they give them those little drinks when he's in his cell.
I got to say, and that was a little too try hard, actually. I think it was actually Soviet. Like anybody who remembers Cold War and Soviet propaganda about like, oh, look at all of the products on the shelves of our grocery stores.
I remember because Tucker Carlson did it like 5 minutes ago.
Right. It was a little too try hard.
But that is what you force them to do, right? Yeah. You force them onto your turf and to manage you as opposed to you trying to figure out how to manage them. And like, this is what you do, guys. And this is what Cory Booker did. When you're talking about Cory Booker, and this is why JVL, I don't like the doomerism sometimes of like, we're all scared, we're all getting our go bags, because then we're on defense, right? We're the one, we're letting them dictate how we feel. No, we're going to go dictate how they feel. We're going to make them react to us. And that's what Van Hollen is doing.
God, I love that. Okay, this has nothing to do with anything, but I'm just going to mention it as an aside. So part of the rationale for taking over Harvard is the deep concern with anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many times Donald Trump has reached out to Governor Josh Shapiro since the attempted arson on the night of Passover?
I'm pretty sure it's a whopping goose egg.
It's zero.
Yeah.
Zero. Very concerned about anti-Semitism, except like, that stuff. All right, so let's talk about Lisa Murkowski.
And also, can we just, I'm just going to throw in here, also Pam Bondi. Like it is domestic terrorism if you do something to a Tesla.
To key a Tesla. Don't
key
a Tesla in the parking lot. But if you do something to a Jewish
Democratic governor, it's cool. It's not terrorism, not domestic terrorism.
Probably not. So let's talk about Lisa Murkowski. Tim did a little YouTube hit on this yesterday. Lisa, for people who haven't seen it, she was at, I guess it was a town hall she was being interviewed on stage and taking questions. And it was one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen from an elected official in America. She was very candid, and, one of her constituents was saying, like, I'm afraid, what are we going to do? And Murkowski was like, yeah, I'm afraid too. And I'm afraid of retribution. And it was wild to see, because for a couple of reasons. First of all, fear is not new in American politics. For instance, it was a central part of segregation and the civil rights struggle, right? The idea that if you come down here to Mississippi, we're going to crack your skull open. What's new is that it's fear of your own party. Like, that's Lisa Murkowski is a Republican, and she is not afraid of Democratic constituents. She's afraid of her Republican constituents. That's new. And I am torn because on one hand, Murkowski has been light years better than 99.99% of Republicans. She has taken some meaningful steps to try to stop the authoritarian takeover. And if she were to step down, she would be replaced, as Tim said, by like whatever the Alaskan MAGA would be, right? So I don't want any of that. I don't, there's a lot of like, if you're afraid, then step down. No, don't step down. But at this, and I value that she's being genuine and transparent and open about her feelings. I really do value that. And at the same time, I want more. But I don't want to yell at her to give more. I want to try to like coax her into giving more. I want to build a bridge for her to give more. Because it's important. Like, I don't know, why switch parties? Stop caucusing with the Republicans for leader. Maybe. You're not up for re-election for 4 more years. And also, you're not 35. I'm sorry. Like, if you had to leave the Senate in 2029, that would not be the end of the world. You have 4 years to really make an impact. Come on in. Come hold hands with us.
I don't think she has to become a Democrat. I think she could become an independent. And
As long as she caucuses with Democrats.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what you do is when you're a Republican right now, what they do is they try to, the reason they do the menace, right, is they're trying to menace you into submission. The second you're not in the tent.
Hey, Sarah, there's more show.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Are we still talking? We have more talking?
We're still talking. The talking goes on. But that's only for the people who are inside the Velvet Rope, the Bulwark Plus members.
Oh, they got to subscribe.
Yeah. Tell them to subscribe. Tell the people,
You should subscribe,
Sarah.
Guys. Why wouldn't you subscribe? You get all kinds of things. You get some extra me and JVL. You get some extra me and George Conway. You get JVL's Triad. This is one of the best things the Bulwark offers. I read it at least once or twice a week.
Yes. Go and subscribe. We'd love to have you.